Hi guys, in this module we are going to understand about the concept of EC2 instances or the EC2 service on the AWS platform. Let's look into what we have in this module. After completing this module, you should be able to work with EC2, understand what is Amazon Machine Image, describe security groups, key pairs and tenancy, differentiate between elastic IPs and the public IPs, analyze various EC2 box configurations available, use different type of AWS storage services, optimize the cost in EC2. Now what is EC2? EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Compute, and this is the symbol representation of an EC2 service on the AWS. EC2 is a web service that provides a server in the cloud which are customized as per the need. So with the help of an EC2 service, we can create a virtual machine on the AWS cloud and use that virtual machine for our purpose. It could be hosting an application on that virtual machine. It could be used for creating a database. Likewise, the full customization can be done on that particular virtual machine. It is highly scalable and works on pay-as-you-go model or on-demand service, which means that if I create a virtual machine on the AWS with the help of an EC2, I'll be charged only for the duration I run that machine. Let's say I run it for 1 hour, I run it for 2 hours. Accordingly, the billing is going to happen. Afterwards, if we stop that particular virtual machine, the billing will stop. Now, what are the benefits of EC2? Apart from creating a virtual machine, EC2 also helps. EC2 provides us some additional features that we can add up in our existing solutions, or we can add up with our existing instances. For example, this EC2 service gives us the load balancing functionality also, auto scaling functionality also. We can customize the network interfaces, we can customize the IP addresses, many things we can do it. So what are the benefits of EC2? It is reliable and secure. AWS provides us the high-end infrastructure where the virtual machines with the help of an EC2 are run. It is elastic web scale computing, which means it is flexible and the changes can be done on the fly. It can be used for flexible cloud hosting services. Let's say if you want to host websites, you can do that on the EC2. You have the complete control of the EC2 and its components. It is cost effective, and the integration with other AWS services, even third-party services, is easier with the help with the EC2. Now, when we work on the EC2, there is one functionality that is called as an AMI, which is called as an Amazon Machine Image. Guys, with the help of an EC2, we create a virtual machine, and that virtual machine is called as an instance. All right. The instance can be created with the help of an AMI. So AMI is an Amazon Machine Image, which is an image of an operating system and the corresponding softwares which are embedded in that particular template. So what is an AMI? AMI provides the information required to launch the EC2 instance. AMI includes the pre-configured templates of the operating system that run on the AWS. Users can launch multiple instances with the same configuration from a single AMI. So let's say if I need to create a virtual machine or an instance, I need to select an AMI first, and that AMI would have the copy of the operating system that needs to be installed on that instance. Let's say I want a Windows, which specific version of the Windows that will be installed, or I want a Linux. So there are so many versions of Linux, so many vendors of Linux operating systems that are available. We can select either we can select Red Hat, we can select CentOS, We can select Amazon Linux as well. So that is what the AMI is used for. It's a kind of a template which has the image of an operating system. Then we need to understand the concept of a security group in the AWS. Security groups are just like a firewall rules. When we create an instance, when we create a virtual machine, the security groups are attached to that virtual machine or an instance. And we need to open up the ports for the specific IP addresses so that we can allow the traffic reaching on that ports to that instance. Hence, the security groups just act as a firewall rules. It is an important aspect for the EC2 in terms of the security, and we should be very careful that what ports we are opening up for which particular IP addresses. All these things we are going to see, guys, when we'll do the lab demo. So let's look into the slide what the security group says. Security groups in AWS acts as a virtual firewall that controls the traffic for one or more instances. And the traffic can be from inbound. The traffic can be either inbound or it could be outbound from an instance. Inbound means the traffic coming towards the instance or the virtual machine. Outbound means the traffic that is flowing from the virtual machine towards the internet. It also secures the instance through IP protocol port access through the source or the destination address. So we can modify that, we can customize it, and you'll find it. You'll see that in the lab activity. Instances associated with the security group cannot talk to each other if there is no explicit rule to allow it. And these security groups can also be attached to the elastic network interfaces. Now, what are elastic network interfaces? I'll tell you about that in the lab demo only. So if you look into this particular example, these are the EC2 instances or the virtual machines, and they are protected by the security group which are acting as a wall. And that's why we call security groups as a virtual firewall. So when you open up a port, let's say if you open up a port 80, port number 443, then only the traffic will be allowed to enter to the EC2 instance. So if you look into this particular example, this is an EC2 instance running, and on that EC2 instance, there is a website or a web application that is hosted. Now to access a web application, what we require, we need to open up the port number 80, which is an HTTP port, or if it is a secure website, then we need to open up the port number 443, which is an HTTPS protocol. If we open up this port on the security group for the public IP addresses on the internet, then anyone who tries to access a website using a URL, that person will be able to get the web page on the system because the port number 80 and the 443 is open on the firewall, and that allows the inbound traffic. All right. So this is basically the significance of the security group, and when we work on the AWS, we should be ensured that we have opened up the ports properly for the proper IP addresses. Then we have another mechanism when we create an EC2 instance that is called as a key pair, which is also a secure or a security mechanism to connect to the instances, and that prevents any false login on our instances. So what is a key pair? So key pair is the copy of a public plus a private key in the encrypted format. So when we create an instance, we need to create a private key and store it on our local system, and its public key copy is stored with AWS. Now what happens when we try to connect to the server or the instance? We need to provide the private key copy, and the AWS matches that private key copy with the public key that the AWS stores. If that matches, then only it allows us to connect to the instance. So key pairs are an important aspect in terms of logging into the instances so that AWS can prevent any type of a false login on your instances. So this make the connectivity to the instances much more secure. Mostly when we create the private key files, they are in the .pem format, which is an encryption standard managed by the AWS. And in case if we are going to connect from the client applications like PuTTY and all on the Linux instances, then we might require to download the .ppk, which is a PuTTY private key file on our local system. We'll see that in the live demos as well. Now what we are going to do in the live demo, we are going to see how we can create one EC2 instance. I'll show you an EC2 instance with the Windows operating system on it. I'll show you the EC2 instance with the Linux operating system on it. And then we'll use all the concepts that we have discussed. That is the AMI, the security groups, the key pair, and how and when we have to use them.